mostly in Midland, mostly in Old Midland. And we really started out just the super, I don't even know if this is like right or not, but it's a long story. But basically got stuck with a house that we were trying to flip and turned it into a rental property. Didn't want to be a landlord. And, you know, the economy out here, I don't know if y'all have heard, but it's pretty good. And so the rent prices just went through the roof and we looked smart. And then so we did it again. And then it got to where just every year or two we were just hanging on to a property. So we'd kind of either live in it and do a light rehab on it while we were living there, and then instead of selling it, lease it out and buy another one, things like that. So that's kind of how we got started. And then 3 years ago I started flipping houses full time, and I think I've got a pretty good grasp. We're going to get into that a little bit. I think I got a pretty good grasp on the flipping market here, having done that for a living for a while, and we've made money doing it. And started wholesaling a year ago. We actually, James and I met at the RIA meeting in Midland in February of last year, and we kind of both were going to be wholesaling, and ended up grabbing a coffee and just said, man, we got similar vision, similar interest, and let's go for it. So that's kind of the backstory. But I figured maybe just to be sure that we're kind of speaking your language, or at least speaking what you're wanting to hear, I thought maybe if we could have y'all a little audience participation, if y'all don't mind. So first, just because I'm curious, how many of you reside in Odessa? If you live in Odessa, okay, it's about half, no more than half. Are y'all counting? You're counting for me? It's definitely 19. How many of you live in Midland? Okay. Thank you. And then anybody that is living somewhere else? Yes. Okay, y'all got it. You got to tell me. You got to tell me where. Yeah, you got to tell me where.
All my hands.
All right. Awesome.
I was just there. We used to live. I was driving here and I overshot just a little bit.
Yeah, I told him you were halfway there.
It's a great place. Okay.
Orlando, Florida.
Really?
Welcome.
What brings you here?
So I do real estate investment training nationally, and I have a trainee. I was supposed to be here tonight. Struck down, couldn't make it.
Oh man.
Huh? What? Why are you here?
Listen,
I was with you.
I
at the
love to come
beginning.
to these things. I learn something every day of my life.
No, but why are you here in Midland to train a real estate investor?
So basically, I'm a hard money lender,
Okay.
Okay.
and everybody needs money.
That's right.
Awesome. We
And
need.
he wants to know what I know. So
That's fantastic. Yeah, we may get into that a little bit. There's a legitimate need for hard money lenders that will close deals here.
Yeah, because there's not a lot.
There are not very many. So anyway, we may touch on that a little bit. Awesome, and we have
one more over here.
Oh, I'm from Alpine.
Alpine. Very, very good.
That's great.
So
Welcome.
did you drive up just for this?
No, I work in Midland.
Okay.
Good. So our expectations are still okay. We're managing expectations here. Good, guys. That's fantastic. Okay, so help me out again here. So if you have successfully bought, rehabbed, and sold a house, like a flip or whatever you want to call it, like a real rehab. If y'all have done that and it's a closed deal, raise your hand. I don't know how many of you there are going to be. Okay. If you have, awesome.
Ever.
Anytime, yeah.
Well, because you
Ever
have kept
rehabbed
it for
the
10
house and
years?
sold it.
I've done that. Yeah, I've done that one. The old 10-year flip.
Ralph, you're late, man.
But you do have ice cream.
Come on in, Ralph.
Back it up. Anybody that has or has ever had rental properties, raise your hand. Ah,
There we go.
okay. That's really cool. And then has anybody successfully closed a wholesale transaction, one or more? Okay, awesome. Cool. I think this is a good idea. Okay, last questions for y'all. I want to see what you're interested in, right? So are you interested, if you're at any point in the next, say, come in. I feel like hogging all the chairs, did you notice that?
Yeah, we've got more chairs.
8 chairs here. Another
There's
couple
some
back there?
There's some back there.
Y'all can have it, no, seriously.
There you go. No, I was wildly early, so I was like way late. So if you're interested in, say, in the next, I don't know, like 12 months, if what you're really interested in is flipping, like flipping houses, like you really get involved in flipping, raise your hand. If you're more interested in flipping, that's what you want to do. Okay, awesome. Is anybody here because they want to wholesale more? Like you want to wholesale? Okay. Oh my goodness. That's great.
What about rentals? Like that's like one of your main things that you want to focus on. Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
They want to get wealthy. Yeah.
Yeah.
They actually want to build wealth.
You actually want to build wealth, not have transactional transactions happen.
Right.
It's a transactional business. You know, flipping and wholesaling are both transactional. And it's hard to get wealthy if it's transactional. It's a lot of work.
True. So I guess if we could do, I have a feeling y'all know what wholesaling is, so maybe a basic.
Yeah, we're just gonna give a basic outline of what wholesaling is and kind of how we serve our, serve this community by the way that we wholesale. Because a lot of you are interested in buying rental properties or acquiring flips, and it's much to your benefit to connect with other wholesalers if you're looking to find properties. Because as you know, this market is pretty hot, and anything that's going on the market it's pretty competitive. You got a lot of competition out there. So if you can find wholesalers to connect with that are bringing off-market properties, if you're looking for investment properties, that is a very, very good way to find them.
So let me give you the Allen description of wholesaling. Literally, guys, I'd never heard of wholesaling, and I Googled it. So I heard about it and I Googled it, which was in January of last year. So like however many months ago that is, 14 months ago. And so here's my understanding of wholesaling. Now to preface this, guys, we're currently doing we're averaging 8 to 10 deals a month. We close 8 to 10 deals a month. Okay, so that's what we're doing. We know people that are doing a lot more than that. We know a lot of people that are doing a lot less than that, but that's where we're at. So we do kind of have a grasp on this, okay? But this is literally how I think about wholesaling. We are, technically speaking, in my opinion, wholesaling is you go to buy a house, so you get under contract to buy a house, like you would do any time that you bought a house, and you're gonna seek to find a buyer to sell. You're gonna sell the property to where you can actually close on the property, buying it, and close on the property to sell it at the same time. So that's just the goal is to sell it for more than what you're under contract to buy it for, right? So like an old school example, if we say, yeah, I'd love to have your house, I'll take it for 90 grand. And then I go and I will try to find somebody that will buy the property from me for 95 grand. And then if I can get them to agree to do that, then I would call that a wholesale, just at the most basic level. Now, technically speak, we can get into a lot of technicalities here, but that's what it is, right? I mean, that would be,
Yeah, that's essentially what it is.
yeah.
Do you rehab it before you sell it? Before you wholesale it?
So like usually when people say wholesale, they mean like no rehab, you're not putting a penny of work into fixing up the property. You're actually going to buy it and sell it on the same day, as is, where is, right? So the goal in wholesaling real estate, in my opinion, I think there's wholesalers in every industry in the world.
Yeah.
And so I almost kind of slapped myself when I realized that I had never heard of it when it came to real estate, but I'd heard of wholesaling in every other industry, right? I mean, you name the industry, there are wholesalers, people that try to sell something for more than they bought it for. So
How do you find them?
So marketing. So how we find the deals, we can go either old school and knock on your neighbor's door, or you can go all the way up to the most advanced, crazy marketing. we're probably not going to get like super technical going into the actual marketing, but anything you can imagine, like we'll try it, we'll do it, we'll spend money, like we spend a lot of money to try to find these properties, a lot, and a lot of time, and we have a team, a couple of them are here tonight. Do y'all want to shout out? James, give them a shout out.
Shout out Scott, that's my brother, he's also a part of our team. JT as well. JT is another one of our team members. This is just two of our team members. We do have a lot more people that are a part of what we do. Got like 8, I think, right now.
We're down to 8.
Down to 8,
We
yeah.
had to let some people go.
Yeah, so we've got
recently.
8 people on our team right now. So I don't know if that was a clear enough description of wholesaling. Do y'all
Probably not. Yeah.
Do y'all want some clarity on that?
Buy and sell it really fast.
I have one question. Do you close on the deal and then reclose again?
So when it comes to closing with wholesale deals, there's 2 ways to do it. You can do what's called an assignment of contract, which again, we talk about in real estate terms, but you can actually assign most contracts in any field, right, that you work in. But yeah, you can do an assignment of contract. So I could say, hey, awesome, you want to buy this house for 95 grand, great. I'm actually going to take my contract that I have with my seller that was $90,000, and I'm going to sell you that contract. It's basically what it is. It's a 1 or 2 sheet agreement that says I'm going to sell you that contract that I have for 90 grand for a fee of $5,000, which is what makes up the purchase price of $95,000. So that's called an assignment of contract. And or you can do a double close, a simultaneous. Some people call it a simultaneous close. Some people call it a double escrow, where I'm literally going to bring $90,000, and we've unfortunately done this many times. Brought $90,000 to the table, had my buyer bring $95,000 to the table for the other quote, for the other transaction. We each have our separate settlement statements, like our separate HUD statements, and it's 2 completely separate deals. And
That
then
happened on the same day.
happen on the same day, and the title company wires us $95,000 back. So we wire in $90,000, they wire back $95,000. So that's a double escrow or double simultaneous close.
Are the closing fees and stuff kind of the same?
There's closing fees.
Yeah,
Somebody's got to pay
So it's
them.
a wash for you guys, or?
Not necessarily. It's different in every situation. Yeah, sometimes
Depends who's paying them, yeah.
Yeah, it depends on who's paying just in every real estate transaction, you determine who's going to pay the closing costs.
That's
It could
negotiable.
be split. It could be all on the seller. It could be all on the buyer.
You guys wanna save yourself a lot of money?
Say we're still a lot of money?
Sure.
So look, you're gonna buy a house, hopefully low enough to sell it for profit, and you're gonna sign your contract. If you assign the contract using this language, title vesting to be determined at closing.
Yep.
That means that you, as a buyer, get to direct who takes title at the closing. When you sell the contract to someone else, in the assignment clause, you assign it for the $90,000. But in the assignment clause, you tell them that they're gonna pay you a $5,000 construction consulting fee.
Okay.
So you can close with your seller in the room,
Sure.
and that line item goes on the closing statement.
You can call it a construction fee. You can also call it a
They
marketing.
can be putting the money up,
marketing fee.
you can show it at the closing, and also, if you've got a good title company, you can convince them since it's a non-RESPA transaction,
Yeah.
to separate the closings, and so the seller only gets a copy of their settlement sheet,
Yeah.
and you get a copy.
So you're operating under the presumption that there are title companies here that would do that. And
So-
let me tell you.
You can do closings by, you can find one out of town,
Yep.
that'll do a mail away, I mean, it's possible.
It is. No, it is. And
I
that's
just
what
thought I'd help you guys out, and,
Yeah, we
if that's
appreciate
something
it.
you can use.
So he's right on
That-
point.
yeah.
So this is what we learned the hard way, is exactly what he said. As far as getting into the technical stuff, there are smart people out there that know stuff like this that have helped us tremendously. So we actually have checked into even closing deals remotely because of this, because there are newsflash, there are not title companies here that will do that. And as far as if y'all want some local knowledge, we can even get into that as one of our topics. There's a history here that there's some stuff that went down a few years ago with alleged wholesaling that really, in my opinion, now that I've learned more about it, wasn't even really
Wasn't
wholesaling.
even wholesaling, yeah.
But it turned into an FBI investigation. It turned into like $100 million insane investigation, and because of that, every title company in Midland and Odessa, and I mean all 7 of them, are very much, to say they're anti-wholesaling is really putting it lightly. So that's one of our challenges. Certainly. That is a trend. Yeah, I know. I've been hearing that from our buddies around the country that there's a trend going on, that there's some people that are not as friendly about it. By the way, speaking of that, wholesaling for some reason with a lot of people has gotten a certain reputation. I never totally understood that, and I guess I should have started with this. One of the reasons I was interested in wholesaling was to spend more time with my kids, but the other reason was, as a flipper here, I don't know if y'all have been through this, it's really hard to find good deals. So it's hard, so I got to thinking about it and I thought, I'm flipping houses and I'm buying 100% of the deals that I buy off the MLS, and I flipped in 2017, the year before I started doing this, I flipped 8 houses that year, and I bought all 8 of them, well, about 7 out of the 8 of them off the MLS. The other one was a neighbor's house. And of the 7 that I bought off the MLS, there were multiple offers on all 7 of them on the first day. Y'all have seen these, right? If y'all are buyers for those, by the way, I've probably been bidding against you. I'm one of those dudes, for sure. But anyway, when I became aware of wholesaling and looked it up, I thought, there's such a desperate need for this here. Now, I will tell you, a year later, I figured out why there isn't a ton of people doing the volume, I guess, that we're doing as far as wholesale. There are a lot of wholesalers here that are doing deals. But I've definitely figured out why it hasn't become like a major business model here. And we were just talking about one of the reasons for sure. There are certainly some challenges with it. But anyway, I think as far as a broad overview, again, just to clarify, for those of you that are wondering, wholesaling, you try to buy something or go under contract to buy it and then try to sell it as quickly as possible. So I guess people figured out a long time ago the fastest way to do that was to start trying to sell it before you close on it. That's my basic knowledge of wholesaling.
So practically what that means for you, if you're looking to buy a property to flip, or if you're looking to buy a rental property, we as wholesalers, we go out and we acquire a property. So we get a property under contract with a homeowner to then turn around and bring that property to people who are looking to flip it or buy it as a rental. So all of the properties that we find are off market. That means they never hit the MLS. So we spend all day, every single day, acquiring properties and trying to acquire properties that are off of the MLS to bring to investors so that they have properties that they can purchase at a deep discount and make great returns on their investment properties. So our job is to find great investment properties for investors and bring them at a very, very deep discount.
And since so many of y'all were interested in rental properties, I would say, and y'all can correct me on this, I would say maybe 60 to 70% of our buyers, people who purchase properties from us, are turning them into rental properties. Have y'all noticed that? I mean, we have some people that are flipping them and trying to do, a 30-day flip or a 90-day flip and turn around and make a bunch of money. But a whole bunch of our properties are turning into rental properties, and they are at pretty deep discounts. We're going to talk about comps, comparable homes and price per square foot a little bit. Not to get technical on it, but just to, because I think there's been some misunderstandings from our interactions with buyers. There's been a lot of misunderstanding, I think, about what houses are actually worth, like right now, not 2 or 3 years ago. So yeah. But anyway, yeah, that's the basics of it. And then, yeah. Question.
Once you get it under contract, are you doing it?
James, turn TV back on.
That's a great, like a formal inspection, like with a home inspector.
Well, yeah, whatever.
So we inspect them ourselves before we get it under contract. So we actually, and I do, this is a really good point, guys. There's a lot of ways to wholesale, okay? There's so many ways to do this, but we have every market that we're in, and we're in 2 other markets in Texas as well. So wholesaling in other places as well. We have boots on the ground. We have people in the houses on every deal that we do. You can actually wholesale deals that you've never stepped foot in. But we thoroughly inspect every deal before we actually even get it under contract.
Yeah, and our guys are very, very well trained. Like Alan said, we know renovation numbers as well as anybody. We know what ARV numbers are as well as anybody. We know renovation numbers as well as anybody because we do it. That's another aspect of our business. And our guys are really, really well trained on what true ARV numbers are and what renovation numbers are as well.
ARV is technically after repair value. To be honest, it should stand for after renovation value, because everybody that talks about ARV, they're really talking about a nicely renovated house. So ARV is after, we'll call it after renovation value. And we're gonna get into that because, guys, one of the things about Midland and Odessa, in our opinions, there aren't a lot of really well renovated houses that those of you that are looking at Zillow, looking at Realtor.com, or if you have MLS access, if you're looking at those every day, you're seeing what we're seeing. There aren't a lot of renovated houses that are going up for sale. To be honest with you, I know in my neck of the woods, they sell off market if they're really well renovated. They sell off market. There's such a supply and demand here is so skewed that a lot of them are selling off market. A lot of them are just that people are selling and they're just really not interested in renovating the house because they can make enough money. They can make so much more than they bought it for, 10 years ago, 20 years ago, that they know they're going to make money anyway. Because of that, and again, we're going to talk about this. For those of you interested in flipping, there is a major opportunity for renovating houses here and making a lot of money. So you'll see. We're going to ask them. Yeah, just out of curiosity.
Yeah, just out of curiosity, I know Ralph is anybody else here on our buyers list?
Like on the email list, do you get email lists from these weirdos? They probably go to your junk mail. It's from Awaken Real Estate. Anyway, okay, there's a few of these. Oh, you need to be on the email list. Exactly.
Everybody that is on our list is
the email list. Okay, perfect. So, yeah, good. We're reaching you. So,
How do you get on it?
on our email list,
we may just have like a.
I got you, good.
there you go. Thanks, JT.
You say Awaken, I got it.
Awaken Real Estate. AWAKEN. Yeah, Awaken Real Estate. Are we still on the website? We've really guys, we're purposely really simple, okay? And I don't know. It's probably not going to come across as humility because I have trouble coming across that way. But we are purposely very much very low key. We're not out there trying to talk like major players, and we speak when we're asked to. We've spoken at some events, and we try to keep things very, very, very simple. I don't know if I've ever been on our website, but they could sign. Is that the one they could sign up on or no?
432 cash deals.
There you go.
Yeah.
432cashdeals.com.
Still there.
It's still up. 432cashdeals.com. Yeah, and that's just a capture page where you can enter your email address and get on our buyers list.
Yeah, but if you want to,
whoa, please hang out afterwards.
Yeah, you can talk to us if you want to. If you're interested in receiving messages about properties, we send out properties every single week.
You got one for sale right now?
Yeah, we've got several for sale. So if you're interested in properties, just talk to one of us, and we'll get you on the buyers list.
We're not really gonna pitch them. I've heard, guys, I've been to 3 RIA meetings in my life. Okay, you may have noticed. So, 2 of them were here, and the one person was the one that I met, James in Midland. So, I've heard though from our guys that are in other markets, they go to RIAs on our behalf and stuff, and that people are always pitching stuff, and that's fantastic. But we don't really have anything to pitch you. We don't have anything like that. Lee asked us to do this, and we wouldn't be here if it weren't for Lee. We wouldn't have met. So Lee came. I met him, and I'm assuming y'all know him. If not, you need to. Lee. I went to the RIA, and I was finishing up last year. I was finishing up the last flip of all those flips I was doing. And you know, I had just told him, I said, man, I'm gonna make some life changes. I'm gonna go in a different direction. I gotta change some things. And anyway, he said, man, let's go to lunch. And I'd love to see that house that you're finishing up renovating. And he came and looked at the house, and we ended up doing real well in that house. But you know,
I told him about the shower,
you told what?
the heated shower.
The heated shower.
I told him about it.
You're giving my secrets away. I actually, is this being recorded? I actually don't even, not even supposed to do that. But I'm doing it again on a house I'm flipping right now. Something about electricity close to water. It's low voltage. It's low voltage. I literally was telling the guy at the tire store the other day, he went on his spiel about how, never, we're supposed to do this in showers, and which, anyway, I didn't tell him I was doing it in a shower. He was talking about some other super genius rehabber that was putting it in a shower, and he's like, oh, I told that guy, you never do that. And so I didn't say it. You were with me, huh?
Yeah, turned and looked at me and you're like, I was.
Like, we're still doing it.
I got a quick question. So y'all actually have 4 properties on your website listed right now?
Anything on our website
It's
is
probably not
outdated.
updated.
It's not. We're going through a lot of like website changes right now. Yeah, they're not updated.
It's got a nice template. You got maps,
Not seeing them.
deals, and
Really?
everything.
Yeah.
You should take a look.
That's your website.
There are people who wholesale, like I said, that do it virtually, and that literally, which, guys, this is a whole other conversation I'd really rather not get into, and there are people because of, and they'll use their website to do, guys, we're very much boots on the ground. I feel like, I know Midland, I know Odessa, and I think our buyers appreciate that. And this is what I was getting at, by the way, as far as the home inspection question. I mean, guys, when we send out a property, at first we got pushback on, like, we would say, here's how much this house is worth. And so at first we would get a little bit of pushback. And guys, we know what they're worth. Like, and I don't mean that in an arrogant way, like, we have MLS access. We have, you know, like, we'll show you the comps, and we know the different neighborhoods. We're not pulling comps from the other side of the street, from the other side of that main street where it's a different neighborhood. Like, we know what houses are worth, and we are pretty good at rehab costs. Okay, now we're doing inspections on these things. Look, I mean, any of you guys that have ever worked on a house, like, think back to when you worked on the house and how your wife got mad at you because it took you a month to do a 2-day project. That's because stuff came up that was unforeseen, right? And it's probably, if you're like me, it's because you don't know what you're doing. But it happens, right? Like, guys, and I can tell you story after story. I mean, I bought a house, my very first flip, and this is no exaggeration. It had 2 air conditioners. The air conditioner went out the day after I closed. I bought the house. It was working. The next day, no air conditioner. I mean, guys, and y'all, a lot of y'all are not here. You know what I'm talking about. So we know rehab costs. We know what they're worth. And so if we throw something out and we say, look, our asking price is 150 grand, and it needs about. Actually, we stopped putting the rehab. Did we stop putting rehab costs in there? Because we got tired of hearing it. We just got tired of listening to those people. Yeah, it's like, and to be honest, like, some will say it's a $25,000 rehab. For some of you, it's a $10,000 rehab, because some of you are going to do it yourself. Some of you are going to sub it out. Some of you are going to hire a GC, and it's going to be 25 or 30 grand, right? So we kind of stopped putting rehab costs on there. But if you ask us, we'll tell you. If you call the phone number, we'll tell you. Hey, we think it's, if you sub this all out, we think it's a $25,000 rehab, and we think the ARV is 175 or whatever, or 200, whatever the numbers are. And guys, we know those numbers, and that's one of the points we wanted to make sure for those of you that are interested in wholesaling, because I've heard that there's, like, you know, look, you can just Google it and learn how to wholesale, right? But, like, we have seen too many people that don't know their numbers. It sounds great in theory, but then they don't really know what they're talking about. Please know your numbers, like, for your credibility's sake, but also for your sanity.
Or fail. Know your numbers or fail.
Or fail.
Yeah.
Know the old saying, yeah. Or fail.
His name?
So what else? Oh, for those of you that are wanting to wholesale,
deals.
we just thought give you a couple pointers, right? Like, guys, we cannot sit here and tell you here's how to wholesale from A to Z. Like, that would take, we'd have to do multiple days seminar, right? But just pointers for you, and then maybe we'll get to some questions after the presentation. Put the presentation. presentation. So option period, guys. If you're going to go wholesale, you're going to throw a property under contract. Make sure you get a good option period, guys that are wanting to wholesale, so that you can back out of the deal if you can't find a buyer, or if you got in way over your head and it needs, you know, you had a couple people look at it and you're like, geez, this is a $50,000 renovation, not a $10,000 renovation. I don't know what I was talking about.
What percent of the houses are like that, where you get them under contract and you can't find a buyer?
Not very many for us.
I mean, 20%?
Not that
Less than
many.
that.
Really?
Yeah, no, not.
I would just to interject, I'm
Yeah.
sorry, but I would say in the beginning more so, and then we really know our numbers now.
Okay.
So we know what we need under contract because we know what we can sell.
And how many days usually before you send it out in a text, do you have a buyer that confirms they want that?
For living in Odessa, we've usually got an offer within 24 hours from a buyer. I would say if we wait, like, and this is, yeah, for those of you, just so y'all know, like, our stuff usually sells in 24 to 48 hours. Like we've had the last couple where we waited because we knew we were gonna have a lot of offers. And so we told everybody from day one, hey, make your best offer and we're gonna make a decision on Monday, which we just did yesterday or today.
Yeah.
On a property that we sent it out. We sent it out on Thursday, I think, or whenever it was. There was a lot of interest. So on that one, like, we waited until today to accept, or yesterday to accept an offer.
Yeah, it's very rare that it lasts more than a week.
So what's the range of your wholesale fee?
It's quite a bit.
Assignment fee?
So it's, I mean,
Is there a range? I mean,
It varies.
I mean, we've
okay,
had
from
deals.
a dollar to,
We've had deals where we made a lot of money, outliers and stuff. And we've had like crappy.
We've had some that we made $2,000 on. We had one today that we made $1,800. That was,
if it's north of zero, you made money.
yeah, we did make money.
We do have a lot of overhead though.
We have a lot of.
So you can't, you don't really don't have an average in the area, or 5 to 8,000?
In so many different cities. I mean, we're literally operating in like 20 cities.
Yeah, every single price that we put out there is, the investor is gonna make a really, really good ROI on it.
That's just how we price it.
So you're operating in 20 cities?
Yeah.
So you know Rob Swanson?
Rob Swanson.
No?
I don't think I know him. Should, but so we're in a lot of cities in Central Texas and the Dallas-Fort Worth area as well. So we have, okay, let's get to this.
I was going to ask y'all, just curious, in this area, Midland, Odessa, why do people go to you rather than go retail? What's the usual issue that you run into for sellers?
Oh, to sell to us.
So most of the properties that we acquire from homeowners need a lot of work, and they don't want to put it in, and they some of them don't want to deal with realtors for
Do we have any
whatever
licensed
reason.
realtors in the room?
Zero.
They don't raise their hand. So there are some. Don't raise your hand, just nod if you're.
I'm working.
And we can also move really quickly for them. So we can close literally like within a matter of 5 days if we need to, or 2 weeks, and that's really enticing. Some of these sellers some of the homeowners are in really sticky situations where they actually need money, and we're able to help them out that way.
Yeah, that's a really good question. We've run into a lot of people that, this is why I asked, like, that hate realtors. I'm not totally sure where that comes from. We may just go along with that. Like, we're not disagreeing with them when they tell us that they hate realtors. But
Just crazy.
it's,
Yeah, but a lot of people out there, they don't want a lot of people coming through their house and things like that.
Random
There's a
people.
number of reasons why people. Yeah.
So you must have a specialty kind of software you use to run all this to keep you organized, and what is that?
you want to talk about all of our various
We've got-
softwares that we have?
Like CRM type?
We got
Yeah, we got
CRM.
it.
We're on like CRM number 5.
Yeah.
What should you not do?
Yeah.
That's actually a really good question.
Yeah,
That's a long list.
How do you screw up wholesaling? Let's talk about that. We should have started making a list a year ago. We'd have quite
Top 3.
we'd have quite a list. All right, what are the biggest screw ups that you could possibly make
So not
Specifics.
having a long enough option period and neglecting the option period is a big screw up, because you don't want to get stuck with a property that then you're obligated to buy, which could have pretty negative repercussions to you if you do that. So I don't recommend it. I recommend doing your due diligence up front, and then moving really quickly. If you are trying to wholesale a property, try and move as quickly as you can. A lot of that is out of respect to the homeowner, because you don't want to be leading on a homeowner that's trying to sell the property any longer than necessary. That's just bad business. So move quickly if you are going to be wholesaling. Try to find out if you're going to have a buyer as soon as
Can we
possible.
clarify what an option period is?
Well, what's the term, or legal on conjunction?
I mean, y'all know a standard real estate transaction, right, on a trek form or whatever,
10
there,
days.
it's 10 days, right? So like, everything's negotiable. So if you can negotiate, whatever you can negotiate with a homeowner, you know, try to get it. Try to get whatever option period you can get. The more savvy ones, of course, are gonna not want you to have a very long option period, especially because you guys know how it is, like the $100, $200, you can back out for any reason. I can tell you as a seller of properties, right, like I've sold properties before, I hate them, right? Any of y'all that have sold properties, you're like, man, it'd be great if there was no option period. So you know that's probably in their mind. So you just try to negotiate it. 10 is standard, so you might be able to squeak like a little more than that out of them.
Yeah, sometimes you can get 15.
10-day option, yeah. I mean, that's standard. So, but guys, we've done deals where we've had to do less than that to get the deal done because it was a competitive deal, and we've done deals where we were able to convince them to do more than that. So, do we have another question?
Are the homeowners aware that you guys are wholesaling the property?
Sometimes they are, sometimes they're not. To be honest, usually they're not. We kind of keep that as a need-to-know basis. Not to be deceptive, but what do they care about? At the end of the day, they want their money, right? So, and also, the reason we don't always disclose that is because I've gotten back into flipping as well. So we actually there are times where we buy properties too. So we kind of just tell them, look, we don't know. Sometimes we turn right back around and sell it. Sometimes we rehab it and sell it. Sometimes we turn it into a rental property. We just leave it open, and there have been several times now where we actually have bought it. There's been times where I bought it, closed on it so that I could throw it on the MLS. So we'll just bring a bunch of cash to the table, buy it, and we always give y'all first dibs though. So if you're on our buyers list, you will be seeing the email. I mean, literally every deal we get, you will see it. And and I told some of y'all this when we very first got started. My commitment to every one of our buyers, I said, join our email list. You will see every property, and I'm not going to cherry pick, because a lot of my buddies like to do. I was a flipper. I'm not cherry picking the best deals. Like, you will see it. If we get it, you'll see it. But there have been times where we literally bought it so that I could throw it on the MLS, try to get, you know, a little bit more for it than our buyers were willing to pay. So, Ralph.
Which of the title companies do you use? Because I know most of the title companies in Milan don't want you to assign the contract. They don't close on you. Like.
Yeah.
So
You
which
were
of the
eating
title
ice
companies-
cream while we talked about this.
So,
Well, no, but I'm glad you brought it up again, because guys, there's a history. There's a reason why these title companies. First of all, it's ignorance is the reason why they aren't very investor friendly. But there is a history to it, and we have tried. So to be honest, we used local title companies, and I just double closed. Like, I brought money to every single deal and double closed it while we were trying to figure out some more investor-friendly title companies. And so now we're trying out a few that are out of town, and we're doing remote closes, which presents its own challenge. Guys, just for your general knowledge, I guess, a remote close, or I'm calling it a remote close, basically the title companies say they're in Dallas or something, and they agree to close the deal for us. We do everything the same. So we turn the contract into them, they do their due diligence, they research title, they handle the escrow part of handling everybody's money and all that stuff. But the difference is when it's time to close the deal, they will email us and email the seller and email the buyer all the closing documents, print them out, sign them in front of a notary. So if we're able to be there with the seller, we'll take our notary with us that we have, or meet them at a bank. you met somebody.
Yeah, we actually did one today.
Yeah, JT met somebody at a bank, or,
Yeah, he
both
met
of y'all, yeah.
I was with UPS.
Yeah.
UPS stores
I
all
actually was
have
at the
notaries.
UPS store today getting closing documents notarized. Yeah.
Do it at a bank, it's free.
Do it at a bank, it's free.
You can hire notaries.
You know, the-
Just wait in the car, and here's got a deal.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's mobile notaries, title companies will set up mobile notary
The little
services.
strategy I talked about at the very beginning of this, you can close locally and it's really not technically a problem because the sale price is the same to the buyer and seller.
As long as they're friendly doing assignments.
But here's the thing, the contract's set up so that you have the right to designate who takes title at the end.
Yeah, then the owner of the title company looks at you and says, yeah, we don't really like your contract.
I'm just gonna say this goes.
And I'm like, well, then I'll use a trick form. Yeah, we're not really interested in doing assignments. I mean, it's bad, like, it's a real thing here.
We use our own, we use all our own contracts, we use our own everything. I don't use Trek, I don't use it. So here's the thing, so you have to have a relationship with every person you deal with.
Yep.
That's your titling company, your real estate agents, that give you your MLS access, that's your bankers, that's your hard money lenders. If you don't walk in and see these people and give them $100 gift card when they help you to Starbucks, you don't do some of that, you will never, ever, ever do no closing.
Be careful doing that with title companies.
And I will say, you guys are right, but you need to build your relationship because we do simultaneous closing. Did it well. They're in it for what's in it.
Yeah, we do, so to clarify, we do simultaneous closes here.
Good, okay.
Yeah, we do simultaneous closes here.
So you crack that code?
We bring money to the table.
No, without money.
Yeah, it's possible. Yeah, you gotta have the relationship, you're exactly right.
You have to be able to sit in that office and shoot the bull back and forth.
Right.
So that he, guys, y'all can't go in and go, do y'all do wholesaling?
Don't
Would
say
y'all
stuff
help
like
me?
that. Yeah.
I mean, that's, you
Yeah.
have to go in and act as if you already do this, and do you want you to take my business? Nope, I'm on the button, back where we were.
Yep.
You know how many times I've walked out of a few places? Eventually, your work gets around, and you get back in. So anyway.
Yeah.
You have to go see these people, even if you're not doing business with them today. Go see people, this is a people business.
This is a really good point, guys. The relationships with everybody from realtors to potential buyers, potential investors that want to network with you. We have relationships with other wholesalers that ask for help or whatever.
Co-wholesale.
Absolutely, which, if any of you guys ever are in a situation and you have I'll give you my personal cell phone at the end of this. Call me, text me. Since y'all came, I really am honored that y'all even came here, and I feel like there's something that we should deliver that I hope makes a difference. So, what other, and I was gonna ask Lee how much more time, I know we didn't have a lot of time. I really, if I can, real quickly, I wanted to, because there are flippers in here. I'm trying to think the fastest way to tell y'all this. I was gonna show y'all pictures and everything. I don't know, maybe hang out afterwards or whatever if y'all wanna.
Yeah, we'll pull the pictures up at the end.
Dig into it,
You
yeah.
want to see some of the before and afters of some of the flips we've done, but
The point, guys, look, you don't need this. It's not like, look how we know how to rehab houses. Because you do too. The point is, I've kind of decided to stop being so quiet about this because we've had too many deals where we were able to sell houses at a price per square foot that we were told repeatedly was not possible. But not just at that, and I mean it appraised too, and that's the stories. I was gonna just do two quick stories. One was the one that you were at. I mean, this house Lee was at, guys, like, I'll give you a quick, if you're a numbers person, you're gonna like this. If you're not, just forget what I said and we'll talk about it later. So this house, I bought it off the MLS. I bought it for $142,000. I got it because it was cash, and the seller, they happen to know that I was like real cash, because there's a lot of people that say cash. If you're gonna go around saying that stuff, have money. So anyway, they knew I was actual cash. So anyway, bought it for 142. I ended up putting, it's this little bitty house, it was 1,684 square feet, okay? I ended up putting $83,000 into the rehab. Like, that's a lot for a little 1,600 square foot house, okay? But now this is a long story. This is like a 6-month flip. But what happened along the way? This is like there's more to it than this. Okay, I'm not just like a crazy risk. Like I'm not wild and crazy. Okay, but I was looking at the market as this was going, and I was like, man, I think I'm gonna be able to get a little more than I thought out of this. I thought the ARV when I bought it, I thought was like 265. And the day I bought it, I even told the realtor, I said, yeah, I think I could actually sell this for like 265. And the realtor's like, you can't. Like there's no justification for that. And I happen to know this realtor pretty well, and I just smiled and I said, you know, we just make up our own numbers. And I just kind of kept walking because I didn't want to get into it. So that's 265. But I ended up doing a pretty nice rehab on it. Like I said, I'll put them up on the screen if y'all want to stay and look. So I don't want to understate this, guys. I put a lot of money in. It was a very nice house. Put 83 into it. So I'm in it for what, like 225 or something. So I ended up selling it for 325. Okay, I will show you. Now here's the cool thing about it. And it was in a good area. Okay, but not great. It was in a good area. The reason I have friends that flip houses in my little neck of the woods in Old Midland. Most of them sell off market. Most of them sell for a lot of money per square foot, like a whole lot, bless you. To give you an idea, one finally hit the MLS, and I'm not gonna say who did it, because we're being recorded, I'll tell you later, but anyways, a friend of mine. He's a friend of mine. It did hit the MLS finally, and it was, what was it per square foot? 350? Like, I don't even know. I don't wanna, anyway, I'm pretty sure it was like $353 a square foot. It's like, and I watched them build a house the block away from me. Like, but now those are exceptions to the rule, but the idea is, and I know the guy that does those, that's like his third one that he's done. The point there is not just knowing what the comps say, what the sold comps say. So like the one that I sold for $190 a square foot, the example that I just gave, the highest comp in that neighborhood was $159 a square foot. So, and guys, I sold it off market. Like I found my buyer, I stuck it on Zillow. And it's a little trick for those of you that, you know, if you want it, if you're ever flipping it out. I stuck it on Zillow about a month and a half before it was ready with a couple teaser pictures and just said coming soon and started fielding phone calls. And people want what they can't have a lot of times, and everybody that called, I could honestly tell them, sorry, it's not ready to see yet, and I did not let anybody see it. And I started building a list of people that really, really wanted it, that, you know, I'm sure they were driving by and, you know, looking and stuff. And of course I got a lot of realtor calls and stuff like that, but anyway, I ended up finding a buyer who, and this is not the first time I've done this, ended up finding somebody who just kept bugging me. She kept bugging me, wanting to see the house, and she finally got me into a conversation to where she told me her story and all this stuff, and it's a long story, but I got to hand pick my buyer. She wanted it before she was ever in the house. She's like, Alan, I've walked around the house, I've looked in every window, like I want it. So, and I knew that she had cash. That was important because I didn't think it was going to appraise. Meaning she could pay the difference. The point I guess is that I was able to handpick my buyer, number one, which is great, but then also, guys, it ended up appraising. It appraised for that number. So it's a long story, but the seller was using like a relocation company, and so because of that, he had to use a broker, he had to use a realtor, which I'm like, oh, okay, that's news to me. So then they told me they already had a realtor that had showed them a couple houses, so now I'm like, oh crap, I'm gonna have to pay a realtor. That's 3% of $325,000. Quick math. 10 grand. I'm like, I really would rather keep that 10 grand than pay a realtor since I kind of like found the buyer myself. And so got into a negotiation situation, ended up getting the reload company to fire that realtor because they were a total jerk. And then I found a realtor. These are the kind, and we do this stuff with wholesaling all the time. Got like these epic, crazy stories. By the way, you want to be a good wholesaler? do crazy stuff like this. So then I found a realtor, negotiated with her. I probably should say her name, Victoria. So I called Victoria Prince. She's a friend, and she's like, she knows I do everything off market, and she's like, oh, Alan, I'll do that deal. And I said, well, how much are you going to charge me? I need a broker to sign off on this deal. So she signs off on it for like $1,000, and probably shouldn't have said that. But I've known Victoria since 2000. I remember I met her in 2006. But anyway, so got the deal done, right? And then it had to appraise, but it didn't have to appraise because I had them sign the addendum. So ask me about this later, it's not complicated. I had them sign the addendum saying they would pay the difference when it doesn't appraise for $325, right? So I got them to sign all that, so I wasn't super worried about it, but the appraiser, I guess, didn't know that, and the appraiser had seen work that I'd done before, and he was like armed and ready to go. He's like, Alan, I think this is gonna appraise. I'm like, dude, there's no way it's gonna appraise. He said, yeah, I think it's gonna appraise, and it appraised for $330. So I don't know how. I do know that appraiser, and there's several of these, they actually have off-market, they have access to certain off-market deals. I've recently learned, because people are like doing they're refining their houses, so they're getting appraisals off-market. I don't know if that was part of it or what happened, but guys, I've had this happen enough times. I could tell you a story of one that's like really not far from here that we did in Odessa. That sold for $121 and appraised for $121 a square foot. The highest comps were 105 to 107. I'm not giving you financial advice here. I'm not telling you to take these crazy risks. Yeah, we would have made money if it had appraised at 105 a square foot.
You know what you're telling
me? It was
them?
a bonus.
To be an insider. So you have insider knowledge. You network, you talk to other people in your trade, and you have a feel for the market.
Yeah. Guys, as far as the feel for the market, if you look at the market right now and you're looking at renovated houses under $200,000
in Midland or Odessa,
anywhere in Midland and Odessa, renovated houses for under $200,000. How many people out there then are approved from a bank for $200,000, and that's like it? That's all they can get, and they're just looking for a decent house for under 200 grand in this market. How many are there out there right now?
So supply and demand. Does anybody know how many renovated houses are on the market for sale right now under $200,000?
You can probably count them.
Zero.
They have some tool sheds for that price.
Renovated.
That's about it.
Renovated.
Tool sheds.
I'll tell you, there's
On an eighth of an acre.
So, guys,
What about under 300? In Midlanders, what about under 300 grand? A renovated house anywhere in Midland.
Exactly. So if you put one of those on the market,
It's on.
So what people say, so then the pushback we always get is, well, yeah, but it won't appraise. I almost kicked somebody out of a house one time because I had a buyer. This is at the beginning, and it was just me and James, and I was showing the house, and we had these buyers, and I had a buyer that's telling me this story. Ralph, you were there. It wasn't you though. And anyway, I almost kicked him out of the house because, oh man, I just got screwed on this deal. I got hosed by this appraiser and all this stuff, and I'm like, I'm just sitting there listening to the story. But anyway, yeah, it's a valid argument, I guess. You can say, yeah, but it won't appraise, then I'll lose my buyer. Well, then handpick your buyer. I just told you the secret. Handpick your buyer that you know has enough cash that's going to sign the addendum that says they'll pay the difference when it doesn't appraise. Supply and demand is more skewed here than any market in the United States.
yeah.
Supply and demand is so skewed. All of us that have made a lot of money flipping houses here, it's because supply and demand is more skewed here, according to Forbes magazine, according to Realtor.com. Midland, Texas is the most, and Odessa's not far behind, skewed supply and demand market in the United States.
Yeah.
Why do you think I put
So, okay, guys, this is a really good question. When I say there's a fear that it won't appraise, that means, it's like, this is a real thing, guys. Picture you do work on a house and you find a buyer and you hit a home run and you're so excited because they're pre-qualified and they're pre-approved and they're all this stuff, right? And then you do a 45-day close, right? Because they have a bank that they're using. What the bank does is they do all this due diligence and then they order, after the option period is over, they order an appraisal. The appraisal is usually the last thing, yeah, then you wait forever because you're in Midland and Odessa and there aren't appraisals that'll get to it. But you're so far down the road, so you do like a 45-day close, and on day 40, you find out that the appraiser doesn't think it's worth what you and the buyer thought it was worth. The appraiser thinks it's worth $10 or $20 or $30,000 less than that. And now you and the buyer both have decisions to make, and you have a little negotiation to do. As far as like, are you gonna drop your purchase price to match the appraisal? Or are they gonna bring extra cash to the table? Are they gonna bring that 10 or 20 grand or however much to make up for it? Because the bank's only gonna loan X amount, but it didn't appraise the sales price was more than that. So that's a really good question. And that's a real thing that people are going through continually. In my opinion, there's no excuse for being caught in that situation. When you have a renovated house in an area where there aren't any renovated houses, and you have the demand is like no demand that's out there.
Okay, so you're saying the addendum that you were talking about earlier is, let's say you listed, agree on buying a house for $300,000, the appraisal comes in at $270,000. Your agreement says that they're still gonna buy it at $300,000.
Yep, so yeah, say it comes in at 270 in that example, they're agreeing up front when they sign the original contract. There's a TREC form, guys. This is so common now. There's a TREC form that is this addendum. They sign it when they sign the original purchase agreement.
So is that any issue with the bank? Will they not?
So you can also require them to use like a local bank that will have a much higher chance of using a local appraiser. Because if you go online and you're looking at Rocket Mortgage or something like that, they're not going to probably use a local appraiser.
Yeah, it's a manual underwriter. You need a human underwriter, not an artificial intelligence underwriter.
And so like Wells Fargo over the last few years has been sending appraisers. Wells Fargo's been sending them out of Dallas. Chase has been sending them out of Albuquerque to come appraise houses here.
Are you guys meeting with the appraiser?
I've never not been there when an appraiser was there.
That is key.
I
If you're
don't
gonna
think
let
anything
someone
of
go
the chance
appraise your
here.
property, you better be right there shadowing.
Absolutely, that's a good point too.
You know, you single-handedly raised the comps in that neighborhood that you were talking about.
And I've seen the results of that, because I get notifications.
I can just follow you around town and make money.
Let's start training.
So this is a good question about appraisers. Since 2008, there's been, whether there was a financial crisis, there's a lot of laws that have started taking effect in 2009, 2010, 2011. And it's pretty intense now. So much so that banks now are required to use a third-party service. Like banks can't even, I shouldn't say can't. Banks aren't even supposed to talk directly to appraisers anymore. Banks request an appraisal through a third-party service, and that's who the appraisals go through. But I may or may not make sure that I am in direct communication with everybody involved in anything to do with me making or losing money. So yeah, I'm in communication with everybody, for sure. I don't know the laws. I'm not a licensed realtor on purpose, because I'm not held to whatever they're held to. And guys, I got a wife and 3 kids, and I'm not a crazy risk taker. I mean, I know it might sound like I am. I'm really not. I'll take calculated risks, but then I'll put a lot of eggs in a basket, and I'll watch the basket. I heard that from a mentor a long time ago. Put eggs in a basket. You can put all your eggs in a basket. Watch the basket. I am not leaving things up to chance. So anyway, I almost kicked that dude out of the house, Ralph, at that time. And I literally actually took him off, just so you know, I took him off our email. Like, I can't deal with that sort of, I just can't deal with it. I'm like, how can you do all that work to rehab a house and then leave that up to chance? You let them use Wells Fargo, and then they sent an appraiser from over here, and then that happened, and I'm just the whole time sitting there thinking, like, where were you? Like, this is your money, this is your family's money.
You can control so much more of the process than you may think you can. From the lender that they're using, like if you have the property, you've got the gold, and you can control so much of it. And our recommendation is control it absolutely as much as you can. Everything if you possibly can.
Yeah, I wish I could have told that whole story, because that story I just told you, they were pre-qualified through Wells Fargo, because Wells Fargo was on the approved lender list through their relocation company and all this crap. And I'm like, I didn't like beat them up or anything, but I just kind of in a roundabout way, I kind of said, hey, I know the president of such and such local lender company. you know, have y'all thought about using a local lender? Well, they're not on the list. And I'm like, you know what, let's see what we can do. And less than 24 hours later, they were using a local lender who used a local appraiser who knew how to appraise high-end properties. And so I don't think as much of it's out of your control maybe as people think. And guys, for those of you that are wanting to do rental properties, here's a pitch for you. Like, get on our list and you're gonna start seeing us putting out properties for sale in places like Odessa for like $50,000, $60,000, $70,000, sometimes less than 50 if it's really bad. And like one really good way, guys, if you want to make a lot of money, in my humble opinion, is like buy something cheap and fix it up and rent it out and refi it. Like go refinance it. Because some of these houses, like we said, I don't know, like as long as you can get an appraiser that knows what the heck they're doing, like guys, like we had one, we couldn't sell this thing, guys. We could not sell it. It's 1,500 square feet. It's really close to here. We had a buyer fall through, so we blasted it out for sale again just last week. We could not sell it. It's sold now, but we could not move this thing. It's 1,500 square feet. And what was our asking price? Like, I would have taken, guys, I would have taken 39. In fact, we sold it for
$39,000.
We signed the contract today.
Square foot house.
What's that per square foot? I don't remember. I did the math. It's like,
Guys, I don't care if you have to put $60,000 into this.
$28 a square foot or
$70,000
something.
That's, was it 2 properties on one lot or something like that?
No. That was a long time ago. Yeah.
Did you see that? Are you referring to the one that we sent out, those 2 properties?
No, I think wasn't Zillow? Yeah.
That's mine.
Yeah, that was ours.
I accidentally, so, okay, that's a really good point. Guys, there's, this is so bad. There's a house on Zillow that I bought it and I sold it in like May of last year. I've accidentally left it on Zillow because it makes investors call, and I need investors. I'm a wholesaler. It's not for sale. It hasn't been for sale since May of last year.
So if y'all are here.
We've all done that.
Well, that's James.
That's James.
I'm James, but that's another James as well.
So seriously, is it 39? I dropped the price like $500 just because I think Zillow sends a notification. $100. Yeah.
Guys, if you're doing a rental out,
I'm sorry. You called. You got the call? Oh, okay. Yeah, guys.
well, you can talk to us now.
Guys, I had that sold before. I mean, but I bought it, and my buyer couldn't close for, I think it was like for like half a day instead of simultaneous. And I'm like, I remember telling James, I'm like, I own this property right now, and I put it up for sale, man. That sucker went on Zillow. I mean, heck, the buyer could have backed out. I just accidentally keep forgetting to take it down.
I think this is a good place to stop
Is
it
that good?
because I'm going to have to cut this last part off the recording before I put it on the site because I don't think they'd want that part on the recording.
What do you do with the record? What do you do with the record? You sold it.
In case somebody comes and missed the meeting and they want to hear your presentation. Now, if you want, I won't put it on the thing at all because I've had 2 people not want theirs recorded. One was the mobile home person, and he wanted to just tell stuff that he didn't want recorded, and so I said, sure, tell us what you want us to know, So if you don't want it, I'll just delete the
I'm not sure
recording.
how many illegal things that we've said. Yeah, there's so. Have we said unethical? Oh, guys, I just like to say it. Like, if I'd say a whole lot more crazy stuff like this.
Yeah, the last thing that we don't do is anything
Speaking of that, guys, speaking of that, at the end of the day, remember one of the first things we said, for those of you that want to wholesale, there's a desperate need for properties here. Guys, bring me I'm not buying it. Like, I'm getting back into flipping. I took 9 months off. Surprised I lasted that long. But I'm back, I'm flipping now. I mean, I might be your buyer. I don't know, or we can maybe help you move it or something. But there's a desperate need for property, so anybody that wants to have anything bad to say about wholesaling, I don't care if by the way, I know the owners of almost every title company here. I don't care if the owner of the title company tells you it's illegal. You're gonna have realtors tell you it's unethical, it's illegal. I don't care who it is. It's not. You are allowed in America to buy and sell properties. Guys, there's a desperate need for properties here. Don't listen to anybody. James makes a good point. Don't go around doing unethical stuff, even if the recording of this tells you to.
But you have to be contractually tied to the deal.
You have to have equitable
You have
interest.
to have equitable interest in the property, which is a contract between you and the homeowner, or somebody that does have equitable interest.
You have to have a signed contract.
Signed contract.
Yeah, but anyway, if we can help, if you're wanting to do that, and when you need help, like I said, I might either buy it or I might point you in the right direction, or you may want to do like a co-wholesale deal where we split the profits. We've spent like 13 months building a pretty substantial, as you can imagine, we spent a lot of time, a lot of money finding most people that are actively looking to buy properties. Apparently not everybody, because not enough of y'all are on the list, but
How do I get into this?
you went to our amazing website. Some of you may have already signed up. Did we get any notifications? So we are so unprepared, but JT, you're going to be in charge of that, right? So JT, stand up. Come on, show them how handsome you are. Okay. That's your guy right there. If you find him, he will personally ensure that you are on our email list. And I think cell phone too, right? Because we'll text you. And if you just like hate it and don't want to get the emails and don't want to get the text anymore, we'll probably still send them to you anyway.
Sometimes guys, like, the reason why we like the text is sometimes like emails get put to the spam filter. It's just kind of, sometimes it's out of our control.
We've had people miss out on deals and get mad at us, and I'm not like once, like multiple times.
Like miss
that
out
we've
on
heard.
great deal opportunities.
So we started texting. We started texting as well, and it's pretty cool. You can it'll have a link. You can click on the link from the text message. You just click directly on the link, and it'll take you straight to information, pictures, comps, video, whatever. Wholesalers always get good pictures and good videos.
Yeah.
While you're there, don't leave the property without getting.
Yeah. Take quality pictures so that the investors, if you are wholesaling, take quality pictures so that the investors can actually see before they go over there. It helps out a lot.
So we're gonna do a break, and then if any of y'all, we can do another session if you want. Guys, I love talking about real estate. You probably haven't noticed. Yes.
So just one question, I think, where do y'all kind of set your FMV that y'all are trying to find? What makes it a good city that everybody has the number they like to hit?
Like how we run our numbers?
Yeah, you have to
So
have a little bit of equity.
We do, I'll flat out tell you exactly how we run our numbers, okay? And again, if you're a math person, you'll like this. We use 75% of ARV to start out, okay? So basic numbers, we do, if we think the house is worth $100,000 fully renovated, which doesn't exist, as we were talking about here, but just use round numbers. If we think it's worth $100,000 renovated, then we'll multiply that times 75%, so that puts us at 75 grand, and then we subtract off repair costs. So if we think it's a $20,000 rehab, that takes us from 75 minus 20, so we're down to 55 grand. And now I know in that scenario, 55 grand is the absolute most that I can offer that homeowner for the property. And I mean, that's us making nothing, right? So then we usually try to go a little lower than that, because we're trying to not do this for free. So, we'll try to get it, in that case, we try to get it for 50 or 45 or 40 or whatever.
Can I chirp in a little bit?
Sure.
So you're using cash, right?
Cash?
You're usually buying these for cash. So for everybody that's listening, you might want to look into, if you have to get a loan, a hard money loan, he can buy it at 75 and still get away with it because he's using cash. You got to buy a little lower than that, because if you deal with a hard money loan, it's 4 or 5 points, close the ball. If you don't have any cash and you got a sweetheart deal of a lifetime, and you got somebody willing to go into it with you and lend it to you corporately, Yeah, that's a good way to get started, but you gotta be careful.
Yeah, and our desperate need, you know, to circle back to the very beginning, our desperate need for lenders, and then I thought about doing, I don't know, have y'all ever done anything on hard money lending, like a presentation or anything? Because I mean, I've got people that are coming to do it, I'm sure he would come in and do it. Hard money lending, kind of like wholesaling, has had a bad rap. It sounds like it's not, they're not illegal shark, like, they're not gonna come at you with baseball bats. They're investor loans, they usually cost more up front, and they're usually interest only, correct? I mean, they're pretty much always interest only.
One of the ways I like to have people understand hard money, first of all, it's short. Okay, it's usually
12 months.
6 months max, but 4 to 6 months. So I'll ask him, listen, I'm gonna lend you $100,000. How's that sound? But I'm gonna charge you 30% interest. Oh, I'm not doing that. That's too much money. Well, do you have a credit card? Do you have a bounce on your credit card? Because if you have a bounce on your credit card, you're paying somebody else 30%. And if the deal doesn't work at 30%, you got no business doing it in the first place.
Remember, that's 30% annual, right? So if you know you're gonna, like in my case, the example I gave you, literally throw it right back on the MLS or do a 2-week rehab or a 4-week rehab. What's 30%? But guys, you're only gonna have that for a month, right? It's 30% annual.
So
yeah.
since I used the 30%, when I lend my money out to 12, that sounds like a whole lot better deal.
Exactly. And I didn't want to take you off, but yeah, so I've got a hard money lender that we're trying to get going here, and I mean, I guess I'm not should say what he does it for me for, but it's somewhere really close to with the number he just said, which is.
But here's the thing.
12
I'll never
is pretty
get
good.
pissed off. I just make money. You know, when I make money, I smile.
Right. Yep. So most hard money lenders will charge you like 10, 12% annual or whatever, 14%, whatever it is, guys, that's annual. So you're doing a 3-month flip, like
you get a deal with it.
Yeah, guys, if you get a deal that has really big margins on it, I mean, even with 12% interest on the hard money loan, you can make $30,000-$40,000 on it.
assuming you don't do 4 or 5 points either.
Oh, no, it doesn't get that far. But here's the thing.
I was gonna say it.
I've talked to people that say to me, well, you know, I'll just take a part. I'll say, you can give them half, and you'd begrudge me 12% for 2 points.
Yeah.
You know,
Seriously.
What kind
Yeah,
of
I'll
thing is
just bring
that?
on a partner. Well, a lot of people don't know math. Like, they don't know math. That's why people do that kind of stuff. No, they really don't. Like, a lot of people don't know math. It's like, you're gonna flip it, and you're gonna make $60,000 on that flip, and you're stepping over dollars to save pennies, right? Like, you can afford to pay. So anyway, hard money, guys. Hard money is a lot of hard money lenders. Here's why it's important and why we need more of them here. And we're working on this, by the way. Behind the scenes, I'm working on this, like personally, trying to get more, because it'd be great for our business if we had more hard money lenders here. So, hard money lenders will lend predominantly on the property, like on the value of the property. Most traditional institutions will lend heavily based on you, your credit history, and just all these other things about you. And hard money lenders will usually factor you in the equation a little bit, but in the grand scheme of things, they're looking at the property, and they'll typically loan, you know, 75-80% of the purchase price, and then cover, say, 100% of the rehab costs if you want them to. So again, like, find some for $100 grand. If you could come to the table with maybe only 20 grand, that would be great for you. And now you can maybe flip 3 or 4 houses where you could have only flipped one at a time, if that makes sense. So we have a desperate need for hard money lenders who will lend on the value and the potential of the property, and not just on you. And that's been what's kept, I would guess, all of you that said you wanted to get into flipping and said you wanted to get into rentals, and then the relatively small number of you that actually been flipping and have rentals, I would guess that would be a major asset for you to have. So
There's private money funds out there too. You know, you got Aunt Jane who's been a school teacher all her life. You got an IRA tucked away.
We didn't even get to talk about private money, yeah. Well, most hard money is backed by private money, right?
Hey, Lee, is it okay if we do opium today? other people's inactive money, and that's what you have to hunt for, is looking for opium. And everybody has it, you know, if you're sitting at a dinner party, you need to be talking to the gentleman that is sitting there and has a 401k, an IRA, a Roth sitting around that he could direct.
Private money lenders is what we're talking about. Yeah, there are people who, I can tell you guys, like, for me, if somebody comes to me and they're like, look, I'll pay you, loan me your money, I'll pay you 10% on your money. Guys, I don't know if y'all have heard, but it's hard to make that kind of return in the stock market. You could stick it, I guess you could stick your $100,000 or $200,000 in a CD and make 2% or 1.5% in a CD. What private money lending is, guys, is like, if you can find people that will loan you their money, pay them 10%. You're going to flip the house in 3 months. You're going to be in and out of the thing. And back it up
their
with
money backed by an asset.
Give them first lien on the property.
Right.
And so as an investor, I'm sitting there like, wait, you'll give me 10% on my money and you'll back it up with first lien on the property. So if the sky falls down, at least I own the property. Guys, that's different from the stock market. Like,
Well, and it gets a little more complicated than that, because the
Sure.
LTV has to be right, but.
I'm simplifying
Here's the
it
thing,
big time, yeah.
hard money lenders are, there's a reason they call it hard, all right, first of all. The second thing is, if you know how to use them, it's a very beautiful thing, because we don't look at your credit scores. I mean, you can be in the low 500s and you're still gonna get them. We look at the deal, all right? But we also look at your experience.
Yep.
You know, that plays big. And we do look at credit scores, but the credit scores earn you a better rate, you know? So there's a lot of moving parts.
That's right.
And there are certain areas in the country we just don't live in. You know, it just doesn't make any sense. Certain areas. But it's not like redlining or anything like that, you know, it's just that we know the markets that are on the incline, the ones that are on the decline, so why is that really close?
Yeah, and guys, this problem will get solved. It's a serious problem. I wondered for years, as I was making so much money flipping houses, and God, that sounds arrogant, but like, I'm like, God, there's gotta be more people doing this. And I think that the lack of lenders that will lend on the value of properties is one of the problems. And then I think the other problem, I already addressed it, it's average real estate investors, like I was when I got started, not knowing what properties are really worth. Like, they're worth more than what some of the comps are telling you. And a lot of you, right, don't even have MLS access. You're going on, you're kind of winging it. And hey, we've been there. But I'm saying, like, even for those of you that do, we're basing all these decisions, I think, on values that I don't think are necessarily correct. Now, I don't want to, by the way, when we blast out a property for sale, I don't want any confusion here. We're not saying it's worth $20 a square foot more than the comps. We're saying it's worth what the comps are, and we usually include the comps. What I'm telling you, just since you're here tonight, is like, you can actually do even better than that. And I wish I could have shown you all the examples. Like, that's what we've done, is sell for way above comps, because there just aren't renovated houses that sell. So if you get an appraiser that knows what they're doing, it should go for more than what the highest ones have gone for, because you're looking at the pictures of the highest ones and they're not near as nice as yours, right? So it sounds like it's very simple, but guys, this is how I've made money flipping houses. Make it nicer, a little bit nicer. Don't go crazy, but you know what I'm saying. Like, don't skimp. And please, guys, in this market, please don't skimp. You will make money. You'll make money. Like, this is not one of those TV shows where they're like, why? And by the way, why are the husband and the wife always disagreeing about? They always disagree about if they should skimp on something or not, right? In the TV shows, I guess it wouldn't be a show if they didn't do that. So, don't, guys. I'm not saying go crazy with it, but please, it's like, oh, I don't know if we should do. You know, on the TV shows, I don't know if we should do that. It's an extra $700. In this market, just do it right. Do it right, and you'll thank yourself later when you get the big fat wire transfer into your bank account at the end of it. Because there's no competition. There's no renovated houses for sale. Yours will be the only one, the only two, and it'll sell on the first day if you put it on the market, or you can use my Zillow strategy and you can sell it off market, right?
So, do you have your own contractors?
My own contractors? Oh my goodness, what a good question. I've still struggled to find good. Are there any contractors? Contractors, raise your hand. Well, I don't want to. I also didn't want to. If I accidentally said something offensive, I wanted to make sure. I struggle So I've been in real estate for, like I told you, about 14 years here, and I've still struggled to find a really good contractor. To be honest with you, if any of y'all find, well, this is gonna sound weird. This is gonna sound weird. If you find them, you may not want to advertise that you do. And that's not what I'm doing right now. I don't like have some in my back pocket that are amazing that I'm not telling you about. I honestly struggle to find good ones, which is part of how, so like when I was, part of the reason I quit flipping is because I was doing everything myself. Like hiring my own guys, paying them hourly. So like the year that I flipped 8 houses, I had 14 guys working directly for me. Like that I was paying hourly, that were working 40 hours a week. And I was the GC, I was the architect, I found the deals, I closed on the deals, I told those guys what to do every day. And that's why I made a big change last year. So anyway, I found a couple good subs that we're using right now on a deal that we're flipping. Which, seriously, if anything, I know Lee, you've done deals where people can come and walk through the flips and learn about. I mean, we're flipping one right now. We're almost done, but I mean, it was on the MLS. I bought it for $310. We had 5 offers on the first day. We're gonna put, so I bought it for $310. We're gonna put right at 70 grand into it, and it'll sell for 500.
So basically, you're hiring the contractors that are licensed for electrician, plumbing, and then you trying to bring in handyman, your guys to do everything else. That kind of it.
Yep. I've got, I used to have a sheetrock guy, and I had a painter, and I just kept them on. And if I didn't have painting to do, I'd have to do something else just to keep them. And I'd pay them, anywhere from, in this market, it's insane, guys. And y'all know, we tell people, like, in other parts of the country, because they think we're like inflating how ridiculous this economy is. We're like, no, you can go to McDonald's and make $14 an hour. And they think until you say that, like, so just so y'all know, there's a hint for all your family that doesn't understand, just use the McDonald's. Just say you can make $14 an hour at McDonald's. So anyway, I was paying them anywhere from 12, like the manual laborers, I was paying like 12 an hour, up to, most of them were like $17, $18 an hour. And then I had like a skilled carpenter that I just kept him on and had him do all kinds of stuff. I was paying him $35 an hour.
You think that the shale oil deposits are gonna have an impact on this market?
Which deposits?
The shale oil deposits, they found out in West Texas.
Yeah, serious?
You're
Like
talking
joking?
Let's have a whole another 4 hours of conversation.
I just want to say that because I got a hot tip in 2011. The whole country was red. It was just, I was out there, we were doing deals, and it was struggling.
Yeah.
But a guy told me, he said, look up in North Dakota.
Yeah.
Go up there and start looking for deals because they just figured out a way to get oil out of that. Those oil fields up there, shale oil fields. And you can't find a deal to search for it.
Yep.
So I'm just gonna tell you, I've seen it.
That little area in North Dakota is one of, I have a feeling a bunch of y'all are in the oil and gas business. Some of y'all know what we're talking about. That's one of the only other areas that's like Midland, Odessa, that little, whatever it is up there. So y'all know, yeah, these guys know. And yeah, this economy is insane.
We're gonna go ahead and cut it here. You guys can go up and talk to them after the presentation.
Yeah, please.
Give them a hand. And if you're new, if you can come over